History is full of official decisions that turned out stranger than the headline. These 8 stories show how a name, a role, a law, or a sentence could reveal a much bigger contradiction. Every senator backed renaming a federal building for Hubert Humphrey except Hubert Humphrey himself. The building is the headquarters of Health and Human Services at 200 Independence Avenue Southwest. It was built for the old Department of Health, Education, and Welfare. Congress moved the tribute as a renaming bill, and every senator co-sponsored it except Humphrey. That made the sponsorship list complete, with one name missing from the honor itself. The building kept its federal role and took Humphrey's name. It remained a government property and a listed historic building. Marcel Breuer had designed the 8-story building in 1977, one of 2 federal buildings he made in Washington. The record still shows the tribute bill with Humphrey absent from the sponsor list. Oregon barred black settlers, yet Wiley Griffin became Eugene's first streetcar operator in 1890. Griffin came to Eugene after being employed by businessman Henry W. Holden. Oregon's exclusion law was still on the books, so his arrival carried unusual weight. He operated the street railway anyway, turning a restricted state into his workplace. The job put him in public view on Eugene's tracks. By 1894, Griffin resigned from the position. He then took a number of other jobs elsewhere in Oregon. His record leaves a documented contradiction, exclusion on paper, but Eugene's railway in practice. The city's first streetcar operator was a man the state had tried to keep out. Christel Marie Schultz lost her left leg in a plane crash, then flew again 6 months later. She was a German aviator and the first female aviator in Bavaria. Her return mattered because flying depended on balance, control, and confidence in the cockpit. After the crash, she recovered enough to resume flying within 6 months. The story does not give the exact adaptation, only the speed of her return. That quick return placed her back in active aviation after a major injury. It also added to her record as a trailblazing woman in a male-dominated field. Her life also included survival of Ravensbrück concentration camp. That makes her return to the cockpit part of a larger, hard-lived history. James Stewart was a movie star, but in World War II he served as an executive officer in a bomb group. Stewart was already an American actor and military aviator, known for a long film career before and after the war. He served in a real chain of command under Ramsey D. Apatz, the commander of the bomb group. That put a familiar screen figure into an operational wartime post, with military responsibility instead of a studio role. After the war, Stewart returned to film, and his later honors included the Presidential Medal of Freedom. An ancient amulet from Horvat Rimmon asks angels to make someone love its owner. Horvat Rimmon was a Jewish village site in Israel's southern Judean lowlands, occupied from the late Second Temple period into the early Islamic era. The charm turns private desire into a written plea, invoking angels as the power meant to change another person's feelings. That object comes from a larger site with a synagogue complex that was rebuilt in 3 main phases from the 3rd to the 7th century CE. Alongside the synagogue were tombs, a hiding complex, a mikveh, homes, and coin hoards, but the amulet still preserves one direct request in writing. Dorothy Homer led Harlem's 135th Street branch and called it a place that cherishes books while dictatorships burn them. She took over the New York Public Library branch in 1942. Dorothy Robinson Homer was the first African American to lead the 135th Street branch. The branch was not just a reading room. It served Harlem as a cultural center for African American studies and history, especially during World War II. Her quote gave that work a clear meaning: the library stood for democracy, and against censorship and authoritarian destruction. She later became branch supervising librarian, and the 135th Street branch kept serving African American study through the civil rights movement. Martin Luther King Jr.'s The Other America was shaped in part by a post-Keynesian economist and a democratic socialist. Its recognized form was first delivered on April 14, 1967, at Stanford University and filmed by KQED-TV. The speech was later heard in several versions, including Stanford, Hunter College, and Grosse Pointe High School. In that speech, King argues that America is split into 2 Americas. He ties racism to poverty, and he presses for a comprehensive anti-poverty program and a guaranteed minimum income. He also briefly addresses his opposition to the Vietnam War. That gives the speech a wider political frame than civil rights alone. The result is a speech that records more than protest. It captures civil rights language meeting economic ideas from outside the movement at Stanford and beyond. Alabama voters rejected a repeal of Jim Crow-era constitutional language because opponents said it could raise taxes. The 2004 proposal was Amendment 2 to the Alabama Constitution of 1901. It targeted school segregation language, the poll tax rule, and a clause denying a right to publicly funded education. Supporters wanted to delete rules that were already defunct. Opponents argued the wording could open the door to higher taxes and more state spending. That tax warning changed how the amendment was received at the ballot box. Instead of reading as a cleanup of outdated law, it became tied to a cost fear. The measure failed, and Alabama kept outdated constitutional language in place. A repeal effort ended with the old provisions still sitting in the state's founding document. Those are the kinds of facts textbooks often skip: the procedure, the irony, and the consequence. If you want more history told through real documents and real outcomes, subscribe and keep going.